Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Mech Engineer, where in the last episode we unlocked what can only be one of the best weapons in the game, if not the best weapon in the game. I can scarcely imagine a weapon that is going to be better than this, so, I mean, I'm open to being proven wrong. I just think it's going to be a pretty tall order at this point. But in today's episode, we may be taking on the last of the Trinity of points of interest. This one is quite far away and is probably going to be very difficult for us to get to. Still, it's not outside of the realms of possibility, especially if we are fielding weapons like the particle emitter. Nevertheless, we don't actually have anywhere to move in this episode because we're kind of hemmed in a little bit. So we're going to be passing the day pretty quickly. Now, the first thing that we're going to get on Monday is the control rods. Let's just double check that we've actually filled out our production. We have. The control rods will enable us to make another reactor, which we will get in just 2 days. It'll allow us to set up another reactor as we want. We do have another mech to play with, which I'm very eager to play with, and I've got a bunch of new things to check out, namely the new weapon and the whether we can set up the new mech. That's a big question mark on that one, but I have hopes for it, but we'll have to see. But the first thing we're going to do, of course, is pass the day. So let's go ahead and hit that button. There we go. Control rods are in. We've got one more day until the whomping great... Well, I was going to say the longest research is complete, but now we've got what seems to be fusion reactors, and they're taking even longer. I wonder if there is a way to speed up how fast you're researching, because there's effectively a way to speed up how quickly you produce things, or rather to decrease the delay on producing things that is present because of the damage to the District 56 upper factory. Right, now, today then, we have got a couple of things that we're probably going to want to have a look into. Let's just quickly go over the amount of humans that were healed. 102. Very happy about that. We've got 100% on the consumer goods. Food supply starting to decrease, actually, so we're probably going to want to increase that one. And wow, we lost a lot of materials, though it's really not a problem. Honestly, the material, the economy game has been pretty stable for us throughout the game. Now, obviously, if we had less ideal starting situation, if we hadn't been able to complete a couple of cave missions early on, if we hadn't had gotten out to the point where we could field a couple of missions a day as quickly as we did, then this might be a very, very different number. But by and large, we are actually doing fine and not really having to worry. The only one that's a bit low, well, I guess both Stalagmite and Munilon could do with a little bit of a bump, but I'm not worried about that one too much. But nevertheless, if we look at the overall stats, Life Systems is still one of the lowest ones, so we're going to pop a little bit more back into this, I think. Also bump up consumer goods, which in turn will help out food supply, though at this point, food supply by itself needs a bump, because we are more or less hitting our consumer goods every single day. We don't have any particular shortfalls there, and yet we're still not making food supply. So I'm thinking once we've finished getting the life support systems, and probably once we've upgraded the artillery as much as we can, I'm going to flick over to food for a little bit, and then one of the mech-specific upgrades. We'll see which one we go for. Now, the big question for today: is this going to be viable? It is going to be viable. Fantastic. Not having to deal with Millis then. What about the other areas? Just out of pure curiosity, we've got at least one that we can crack open. I'm not really looking forward to taking that one on, so I don't think we shall. And we do have water. Okay, well, we've got a couple of things to keep in mind then. But I think we're all very eager to take this one on. But before we get to that, let's cover some of the comments. Now, Timmy Timmins 3780 noted that in the game's code, the particle emitter is literally called the BFG. And I find that so perfect that I wanted to draw special attention to it. I had so many people saying, oh, it's basically a BFG in the comments. Well, apparently the dev agrees with you. Also, NASCAR believes that 2014 is a mine. So let's have a look at this then. This 3 needs to see at least one more. This one can... Oh, I see. I see what you mean. Okay, so NASCAR has noticed that this has to be... Sorry, a mine. The similarities to Minesweeper are too much. But this has to be a nest, because this 3 here needs to see at least 3 nests. This one can already see the 3 that it wants, so none of these tiles can be nests, which means that the other 2 nests that this tile can see have to be in the bottom 3 tiles. But this 2 here can already see 1 nest, so it means that only 1 can be within these 2, which leaves 1 floating nest that has to exist. So that one has to be there. Okay, very well spotted there. Thank you very much for the help. Now then, before we get down to business, we have a couple of things that I would actually like to highlight. We're going to bring the Frostfire back into the hangar bay. We're going to bring the Nicola back into the hangar bay as well, I should think. And let's have a look. Are there any others that I'm going to need from the comments? I think we are more or less good with this. All right. Now, Mr. Pink again. All right, well, I'm not going to be setting this mech up just yet, but we are going to change the name at the very least. So we've got Mr. Brown, Mr. Pink, Mr. Green. Dare I make one called Mr. Black? People can just fight over it. Let's go for it. Mr. Black, there we go. Let's hope not too many pilot casualties result from people fighting over getting to pilot Mr. Black. Right, so on the topic of the Nicola, we had user TV4LI7SY8Y. You gotta love YouTube's auto-generated names for people. They suggested trying the Tesla gun with full rate of fire instead of damage. And with our improved cooling on the reactors, that may be a more realistic option for us than we had previously. Let me just double check the temperature in this region. Oh, good lord. Wow. That's a bit higher than I would like. Okay, so my usual thing of about 50% more means that we would want temperature, the max temperature for the mech as standard to be about 450. We could handle it a bit less, but about 450. Which means we're going to really need to upgrade our mechs a bit. Now, what other qualities do we have here? It's not winds. Okay. Since this is another point of interest, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say we're going to need to upgrade everything. But let's not get too distracted. Let's pop the Tesla in here for the moment and just have a watch of how this does its thing. I quite like that it gets that extra coil there. Now, this is something that has been mentioned before, that we're basically getting almost nothing from adding damage to this. But previously, I was quite concerned about the thermal regulation of the mech. But with the added bit of cooling that we've managed to eke out from adjusting the reactor with 1 extra resistance, I think this may be worth a revisit. We can also pop that one in there. Let's pump this up to 1, 2, 3. There we go. That's quite nice. Are we actually seeing much of a difference there? Possibly not. I could perhaps pull the weight down, but honestly, I don't see a reason to. We're gonna keep that in there. It might be rounding the numbers, but I'd like to see that before we change things around. So let's pull the Nicola back in. Now I'm going to need to adjust its thermal qualities before we go any further. I'm not going to change out the Nicola's setup here. I'm pretty happy with this as it is, though. That being said, now the one thing about the Nicola right now is it is using rocket ammo, so I don't really want to switch over to having kinetic as well. But one of the other mechs may be due the other reactor and then a railgun. So yeah, we'll get to that one in just a moment. But let's get the max outside temperature up a little bit, and that means, unfortunately, we're gonna probably have to drop this and pop in another, because we don't have a armor plate to get rid of here. 551 should be enough. I'm going to quickly test this, and if this all works, then we will sign off on it. But it is going to be volcano temperatures. Actually, just looking at the fact that it's struggling to even get over 40%, I think we're probably going to be okay. It depends on how quickly it depletes the ammo and needs to reload again, but I will bring you back when I've decided whether this is good or not, but I should imagine it's going to be good. Okay, I think this should be okay. It took several reloads for us to find equilibrium on this one, but it ended up balancing out just about 62% of reactor temperature, and that is absolutely fine for me. I don't think we need to worry about that one. We'll just leave that one as it is. Okay, so that's the Nicola. We've got enough engineers that I'm not going to be too worried about changing every single mech and getting them out there, but we're going to do the first ones, or rather the most powerful mechs first, just to be certain that they can actually go out there. Now, it was suggested to me that the Jason Wright said that the particle emitter with shrapnel mod has performance similar to the Tesla gun in the field, and it is worth a try. Now, we didn't really see that with the particle emitter. We didn't see the arcs arcing again, and I guess there's no real way of us seeing that with the Tesla. So I am willing to switch this out and maybe give it a try. That being said, actually, if we have a look, we do have another particle emitter. I could perhaps hook that up. It's a little bit of a shame that I've already done that now, but we're going to need to see if an extra bit of regulation there is going to be able to handle this. We've just dramatically increased the firing costs of the particle emitter, so we're going to have to address that one with the frost fire, but we should be okay, I should imagine. Let's go ahead and quickly do the testing on this one. Now, obviously, I'm going to be cutting out the testing for the most part, but on a couple of them, I will showcase it. It is so hard to do testing in here for the particle emitter, in particular, because of the way it pulls the enemy closer. That is legitimately kind of annoying, because in a testing environment, I'm just testing how much I can fire the weapons before it gets too hot, but I can barely do this properly because it's constantly moving around. I wish the testing environment had some different rules, but I think one of the big things that works in favor of the Firestorm is that it does have to reload 2 different types of weapon systems. And as a consequence, it has a lot of downtime to cool off. It is reloading more often than not, and this is one of the reasons why I'm a little bit tempted to get rid of the 20mm rotary cannon and put another energy weapon on here if we had a better energy source. As much as that kind of stacks this in favor of energy types of damage, having something that never needs to stop firing no matter what is reloading would make me feel a little bit safer about this. But anyway, I'm going to keep doing this until I'm satisfied with where the reactor is going to sit. But I should imagine that based on the reloading, we're never really going to push this up into even the low 60s. But I'm going to continue testing that, and I'll bring you back in a few moments. Yeah, I am pretty content with this. This is about as bad as the reload will ever be for the Frostfire, and that is 3 reloads in succession. What happens, and I think I've mentioned this before, and it bears repeating though, is that you only reload one type of ammo at a time. And so if the other type of ammo, in the case where you've got a mech that has multiple ammo types, you could run out of the other type of ammo whilst reloading. In this case, we ran out of the explosive ammo whilst already reloading the kinetic ammo. So the explosive ammo waited and then immediately started reloading again after the kinetic ammo had finished. And whilst the explosive ammo was reloading, the kinetic ammo ran out, and so it went into the queue. So effectively, we had 3 weapons reloading back to back. So we were dumping the reload heat into it for the whole time, and we didn't crest 60. So I'm happy with that one. Though on the topic of multiple types of ammo, it was actually pointed out that we do have a way to adjust the types of ammo or the balance of the ammo that is brought along. And this is something that I did whilst tweaking. We didn't need a lot of rocket ammo for the Frostfire, simply because it goes through its particle emitter ammo so much slower. So I favored having kinetic ammo, as you saw in the testing there. We were reloading that constantly, but you can adjust them as you want. You can move them side to side, kind of place them wherever you want. You can favor the explosive ammo, favor the kinetic ammo. This is thermal ammo, I believe, so you can top that off as well if you have thermal ammo, like I'm not actually sure what would be thermal ammo, but I'm going to say like flamethrower fuel or something along those lines. But we really don't need a lot of ammo for our missile launcher here, so we favor the kinetic so that we can reload, so we have to reload that far less aggressively. Nevertheless, that's all been taken care of, so the Frostfire is ready to go. Now, with all of that done, how about we actually spend some time looking at some new stuff? So let's bring in the railgun. Now, let's have a look at its base stats. Let's drain the whole bank of everything all the way down. Now, this is an energy weapon. So, well, for now, we'll just have a look at the base stats and how these get adjusted, but we will almost certainly be increasing the energy into this. Electromagnetic mass accelerator. Damage and firing speed depend on energy consumption. Base rate of fire, not bad at all. Let's go ahead and just lock you in place, and we'll see how much damage this does. Okay, 170. 341. I imagine it's going to be about 341 is the highest. Potential damage is 415. Not amazing, but pretty good armor penetration out of the box without any extra power being added to it. Now, it is drawing 50 at base, so let's push that up a little bit more. That's already 117. That's actually kind of amazing. The amount that increases is kind of bonkers. And the armor penetration now is 29, and this is about as weak as this is probably going to be. How accurate is it? Not super accurate, but wow! Look at the condensation cone in front of the vapor cone in front of the bullets. That's actually kind of bonkers. Let's see how damage increases. Okay, damage increases do nothing to this weapon. It seems. Let's double check that. No, do absolutely nothing. That's kind of nice to see. That means we can put our focus on something else entirely. Let's put it all into rate of fire. Now, technically, rate of fire is higher now, so that has had an effect. There we go. We're really pushing that damage up a nice bit. This is, again, though, it is a kinetic weapon, so it's not doing a huge amount of armor strip. But the potential damage is up to 1,700, and this is on an armor 11. Now, what is the strongest thing we are likely to face? I think it was 14, I believe. Let's go through here. The Gamorous is 12. Sagittarius is 12. The Floss, sorry, 14. Is there anything with higher than that? Well, we're not going to count bosses, but I guess penetration of 20 is as high as you ever need it. But with kinetic weapons, they lose penetration over distance, so you always want to over-penetrate with those. Especially because the more things they go through, the faster that penetration bleeds off. So armor penetration is where it needs to be. I guess the rest could be put into weight, honestly, but we could put it into accuracy. You may as well. This is a stupidly long-range weapon. Given the look of the shell, the vapor cone in front of it, I'm going to say that this is a weapon for extreme distance. So accuracy over extreme distance makes a lot of sense. Now, let's go from the top down, and then we'll finally get to what is probably going to be the thing we want, and that is the accelerator, so more energy. But let's have a look at 65 energy. This isn't that impressive yet. If we pop on the critical mod, does basically nothing to this weapon. Pop on the shards mod. Let's have a look at you. Okay, that's not bad. That's a potential damage up 8,000, 9,000, 9... Okay, so shards, amazing, especially probably for stripping armor, since this is about the only way you're going to strip armor with a kinetic weapon, it seems. But if you are over the armor penetration you need, you're going to do a lot of damage. Let's pop this on there, and we'll probably see the numbers go sky high, because this is a nice big opponent, and the shards are really digging into the meat and guts of it. Potential up in the 2000. Let's actually pop this up just for shiggles there. Yeah, it's going all the way through. But penetration is not going to be great on this, because we're losing the penetration because it's exploding the second it hits something. Fire, I mean, it does do fire. Pop it in the fire, shall we? There we go. It's not really doing anything, but okay, I don't think fire is ever really going to be something for this. Now, slow is a maybe, but why would I be using a railgun on Operarius? Or just like lines of fodder? I mean, I guess we would if we were aiming at the thing behind them, like a ovum, for example. And this would probably apply the slow effect to everything in that column. But again, I feel that this is lackluster for a weapon like this. Now, the shotgun or the I honestly think of this as the shotgun mod. Now, this is going to slow the rate of fire enormously, but will it compensate? Potential damage is 3,500. I mean, for a swarm, this is probably a decent weapon, because each shot will bleed its penetration and its damage independently, or at least I believe so. So as one shot kills one of the RPs, then it starts to another shot isn't having to lose any of its damage, and so towards the end of the swarm, you'll still have a couple of shots that have most of their damage still to go. Finally, we've got the increased projectile. Like, I'm noticing that barely anything is changing down here, even with this. Barely anything is changing, but it's going to have a nice little trail, I'm sure. Though, oh no, it's not. Though I'm going to say, the idea of enhancing effectively your mag rail, why would you stick rockets onto something you're launching with a mass accelerator? That just seems grotesquely silly. It's surplus to demand in every possible way, and doesn't even seem to do much anyway. So, finally, the projectile accelerator. Let's have a watch of these stats, because I imagine this is going to make this quite obscene. It makes the energy draw obscene. Armor penetration of 92. Damage 367. I mean, for a kinetic weapon, I'm going to say it's good. Yeah, for a kinetic weapon, this is nice. But it still isn't really all that for 115 energy. I mean, this is now on par with the particle accelerator in terms of its energy requirements. I mean, the damage is wonderful, and it's firing frequently, and it's probably blisteringly accurate. In fact, I could probably pull this down a little bit at this point. Let's have a look. Is that going to really make that much of a difference? Oh, it does make a sizable difference, doesn't it? Let's keep it there, then. I do like it. This just punching out constantly. Now, the question is whether this would cause heat in the same way as a pure energy weapon. I would assume so, but certainly I've not seen anything with armor penetration like this. This is truly a monstrous weapon. Do I want it focusing on Operarius, though? Big answer to that is no. No, you shouldn't be caring about Operarius unless they're super close to you already. Like at that range, sure, aim for the Operarius. But outside that range, no. No, no, no. Never. This is an expensive thing to stick on something. Granted, we could pop that on a mech with a slowing rotary cannon. It's not a bad choice, or maybe even like a fire or a slowing laser. Well, maybe the laser would be a bit of a rough one. Still, not the worst idea, all things said and done. Let's go ahead and set that up, shall we? Let's pull all of this in. I think fire. I actually quite like a fire rapid laser myself. It feels quite nice. We would have 15 on that, yep. And then we could just pump all the rest into rate of fire. It doesn't matter too much since this is more of an anti-swarm weapon than anything. This is only really there to engage opponents as they get too close. And I don't mind having this just a little bit outside the range of something because the fire will affect it, but I suppose I could just tuck it in there and it's fine. There we go. This is perfectly fine for me. That'll deal with... that'll quickly strip the armor off and then start cooking whatever it's attacking at close range. And so maybe we could have another pure energy mech. That's not a terrible idea, all things said and done. And maybe we will set up... It might be time for the Mr. Brown to switch over to this. It would still have a very powerful kinetic weapon. It would just have a good swarming weapon in reserve. Okay, now, finally... I'm thinking we are going to set this weapon up. And I'm thinking we're probably going to grab a copy of the Frostfire's particle emitter. Let's just load that in there, then pop this back onto the Frostfire. And there we go. Pop you in there, thank you. And we're going to load that in. So it's got all the same stats. But we are going to swap into the shards. Now, this is going to be a significantly less impressive weapon in some ways. If we drop down the damage there, I mean, that 19 armor penetration is actually really nice to me. But we could perhaps increase the rate of fire a little bit. Let's keep the damage at 50 if we can. There we go. And we just set something up like this. It's a heavy weapon, to be certain, but it might be an okay weapon, especially on something that's only got two weapons specifically. We could even perhaps pair that. No, the energy drain is a little bit too high. But still, that we will try this out, since we did get the suggestion to try with the shrapnel mod. Shrapnel mod, yeah, we will go with that. Right, with that though, let's head back to the mechs. Now, who would we like to update with this? Well, first we're going to need... our new reactor is going to be here yet for a little while. So I don't think we can really play with these energy weapons yet, but we've set them up. So we've prepared the way. Now, let's have a look at Mr. Black. Let's have a look at your stats, your passive stats. Passive armor is 1. We have no speed because we haven't put any motors on it yet. Hit points 14, max temp outside. The main thing is it basically resistant to water. Quite like that. Shove resistance is nothing great. Evasion chance right now is 72% evasion chance. Does this have arms? That's an odd question, but no, it does not have arms, so we cannot put any melee defense on it, sadly. Hit points at 14, as usual. It has no reactor. We can pop in just a basic reactor. That should be okay. Though. Let me just double check. No, this is an internal one. We want this one. Yeah. We want external reactor here. Right. It's going to be a kind of a mock setup, but we'll see what we can do. The big issue that I'm seeing is the orc slots. We've only got 2 of them. That is going to make this a very difficult mech to use. What are the temperatures out here? I guess, I mean, the oceans are only 17 degrees. I mean, that sounds like quite a lot, actually. But the oceans are only 17 degrees. If I were to build a lance purely for water combat, this is an expensive thing to do, because I imagine this requires full couple of days, 5 days each for these. Making a full water lance is going to be costly. And I've had more than a few comments saying that that is not worth my time. Still, it might be the only way that this is realistically going to be viable. Let's pop in the 2 chunky motors, then we'll fill her out with basic motors for now. So that gives us a speed of 1. If we have a look in here, shove resistance of 0.48, stability regen 0.12. Additional speed we're getting is 0.1 from the unused weight. The evasion chance is now only 28.37 because of us using so much of the available weight that it has. Now, it does have 4 weapon slots, though. Is this something I'm going to be able to do this? Because realistically, we typically would not want to send rockets or lasers down here, I'm going to say. Maybe rockets aren't so terrible. Needle bullets improves kinetic bullets underwater, but it does not stack, so you don't need one. And torpedoes adds guidance to explosive bullets underwater, does not stack. I mean, I could just pop both of these on. Alternatively, yeah, I could have one evasion and one... So our evasion chance is now 35, but it's more the stability regen that I wanted there. Are there other things that we might want underwater? What's the ammo? Actually, the ammo isn't terrible. We would take 5.10 seconds to reload and 4 seconds of firing, depending on the weapon system we put on here. I'm feeling that this mech would be best to have either 2 kinetic or 2 rocket. Now, big question is, we could put a railgun on it. Might not be a bad idea, actually. A railgun and a rotary cannon combination. And then, oh, could we even have the BFG on this? It's possible, because that is an explosive. Not entirely sure that would make sense on this mech, though. Still, it's got enough motors to be able to carry quite a bit of weight. But maybe multiple cannons. We could fit two large cannons on this. That is an option as well. But for the time being, I'm going to say probably throw on... Well, this one's specifically set up for rockets. So let me quickly make a rocket design. We don't need to load everything onto this. We don't need it completely set up with rockets, but it might be worth it. Armor penetration, this is obviously what we want, and I'm going to set this one up just purely to deal with armor. I see no reason not to. Give it a bit of a minimum firing distance just for safety. Something around there would be quite nice. Now, the only issue is only having rockets on this means it is vulnerable to other mechs getting close. So you'd need a mixed lance of kinetic and rockets, I would say, because fielding this with energy doesn't make sense to me. Fielding this with energy weapons, since it very specifically says they are not good underwater, and we don't have anything that's going to remove that. But this is the first opportunity for us to actually click on this button. You may be wondering what this was about. It is not a blood drop. It is in fact a water drop. We are now simulating underwater. Now, the nice thing about rockets is as long as they've still got their guidance, they're going to be quite effective underwater because they don't lose damage or penetration at distance. Whereas if we were to say, in fact, let me just grab the rotary cannon, pop it in here. Yeah, not great. Not great at all. Turn that on and suddenly these are going nowhere. Now, similar to the presence of a suitable AUX module for underwater conditions. So we can restore it, but it's still not quite as good. Still never quite gets to the same place. It suddenly has a much shorter distance, so we would need to address that. Pop this in here and make sure that we've got the suitable AUX module on it. Take that off. I mean, they're still guided underwater right now, even without the AUX module, which is a bit of a weird one. But I'm going to say that this is fine for now. We'll grab 2 of these. There's no point in me setting up fire, I don't think. But the second one perhaps could have a different mod. We could perhaps even go for critical on this one. Armor penetration is lower, but just explosive force is higher. The weight is also a bit higher, but I don't mind that one too much, since this will likely cleave the environment more, and there's a part of me that likes that. I don't think having shotgun rockets is necessarily that wise of a... Ooh. You know what? I take that back. I take that back. I hadn't noticed that. I always assumed that having the multiple projectiles used multiple rounds of ammunition, but it does not. Well, this is a time to be learning that, isn't it? My lord. Alright, well, I'm actually okay with that. Maybe we could have 2 of these like so. Right, a shotgun rocket launcher. Because everyone needs that kind of thing in their life. Let's pop these on there and indeed there. That leaves us plenty of room for armor. Loads of room for an energy shield, which we could turn on there, which would be very, very nice. I'm just going to set this up to the most basic bulk armor right now. Only because I don't know what else we'll be playing with. But honestly, you know what? I'm starting to think that maybe this would work. Okay, let's increase this to 17 degrees and just see what the reload is like on this. It's already taking a long time because of the lack of orcs. Wow, already up to low 70s? I was about to say, oh, we could probably throw on more rocket launchers. I'm glad I checked first. Low 70s is entirely too much for us to be getting whilst just underwater. That is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But maybe we could tweak this even further. I don't know. But actually, we can turn that on, in fact, so that moving around and we can properly simulate the environment. I really do love the fact that you can simulate that. Though, that being said, it does look like we're not actually pushing the load too much. It's staying in the low 70s at all times. All right, well, you know what? For the sake of completeness, let's go ahead and set both of these up. Of course, this one is going to get the multi-shot mod. And let's just see how the Mr. Black works with all rockets all the time. And just for the sake of a bit of fanciness with the symmetry, there we go. Right, at this point, can't afford the weight. We could shave that off, though. But realistically, I would want a lot more weight here. So I'm going to say probably not with this. That being said, I could strip that away. That does give us a little bit to play with. Maybe on all of them we could do that. Sure, let me do that same thing for all of the weapons. Okay, that gives me a little bit more room to add a bit more weight besides. Alright, so we've got not a terrible mech here, but let's see how it performs thermally at 17 degrees. It is going to blister through its rockets, but potentially this mech is going to be capable of extreme amounts of damage. But that long reload, it is burning through its ammunition way too quickly. This is not a feasible design, I don't think. It's a funny design, but it's not really feasible. Still, having just 2 rockets, though, I think that would work. We could possibly set that one up. Maybe even have keep those 2 in reserve for the for another water mech. Though on that note, we can now redistribute this back into rate of fire, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Let me just quickly pop that back. There we go. You only need to do that on 2 of them. But I think, all in all, Mr. Black is basically a finished mech at this point. We just don't really have enough other mechs to make a useful lance out of it. Still, it's not terrible. And it does get a good bit of firing now with all of its rocket systems. Stacking this up with like rotary cannons or tank cannons or maybe even a missile launcher might not be a bad idea because of the significant... Oh, wait, no. Hang on a second. I am noticing something here. Was I just imagining that? I swear, when we were looking at this in the simulation, it looked like it wasn't burning through the ammo. You lied to me, game. It is burning through multiple shots. Wow, poop. All right, fair enough. I'm disappointed, but okay. Let's see how you do when you're not blasting off 5 rockets at a time. And instead you've just gone all armor all the time. This might change it a bit. I'm not at all worried about the actual heat. I'm more worried about how long it can maintain this kind of firepower. But honestly, the rapid fire attack with these rockets, it's kind of cool to watch. Just a huge rocket barrage. If we could increase the amount of ammo that this has, which I guess we could, if we were just pop this on right there, yeah, I think this might be okay. It can now fire technically for a little bit longer than it has to reload. That makes a lot of difference. I kind of like it, I'm not going to lie. I do kind of like it. We're not going to be playing with this one, though. That was just to actually look at the mech. If you've got any suggestions of what we could do with it, because I'm honestly, the orc slots kind of hurt. But overall, I think this might be fun, especially if we're only ever taking it into the water, because the max outside temp is perfect for water environments. Okay, I have finished adjusting all of the mechs to be capable of handling volcano temperatures. Now, for the most part, that was simply adding on an extra heatsink in place of an armor plate or in place of a reload module. Or rather, a couple of our mechs actually needed 2 extra heatsinks, which honestly, the biggest problem there was weight, and in some cases that has meant quite a few concessions, but overall it's been okay. The Shepherd is noteworthy because I had to get rid of all ammo loading, and I had to put on an extra metal grid because we had no real weight to spare. Although it looks like I did have weight to spare, that's only because I put the metal grid on. Before that, I couldn't get it below the requisite number. So there were a couple of changes that I need to make, but overall, every mech that we have got now can handle the temperature with regards to reloading all of its weapons, basically constant fire. Now, do I expect most of our mechs, or even any of our mechs, to really be constantly firing? No. Now, there's always a little bit of time to reload here and there, or just rather just downtime from not firing without having to reload, but I always feel that it is better that I know that my mechs can just basically just hold down the trigger and never take their fingers off it, than have to worry that I'm going to have to toggle and micromanage their weapons, otherwise they're going to overheat. That would be an awful position to be in. But okay, the time has finally come, and since this is another point of interest, I'm going to send the full roster of mechs and pilots, so give me just a few moments to figure out who's going to be joining us on this mission. Okay, we are of course taking both Mini Murgle and Phoenix. Since we're not going to be running a second mission, we may as well bring both of them so they can get a little bit closer to their level ups. Mini Murgle is actually on a good path to getting the third level up. Now, if I were to judge purely based on the available slots, it looks like we can get 6 total perks. So that's actually a lot more than I was expecting, to be honest. So that's like level 18. So maybe if there is a level cap, level 20 would be it. I don't really know if there's any other bonus that the pilots get beyond the ability to get perks every 3rd level. It might be that there is some small hidden stat that just makes their stats a little bit easier to gain or recover and a little bit harder to lose in combat, or just due to stress. I don't know, but we are going to, of course, be bringing both of our commanders: Soundsphere, Bicklow, Synthetic Samurai, Encrypt, Vanya Loswin, and Russell. I really actually like the pair of Vanya Loswin and Russell in Mr. Pink and Mr. Brown for some reason. That actually works quite well for me. We've got a total of 4 drone pilots, so potentially this Lance has got an enormous amount of healing. Do we really need Phoenix Talia to be there with the extra healing? Every single mech, I believe, has, except maybe for the test, Nicola. No, even Nicola has a drone. So honestly, I'm not even sure we need Phoenix to be leading this one. So I think it's time for Mini Murgle to have a shot at this. So we're going to have 11 nests to deal with. 3 Brukers. I dislike the idea of the nests, because if there are nests along this wall, they're going to be active as we're approaching. That's going to be a massive pain in the bum. But alright, it's time for us to go. We have got Ares, so we will of course set up Ares to be targeted. Let's make those a nice primary target. Mini Murgle and then Nicola is going to be the leader. Phoenix in the Frostfire will be second in command. I would then like... I'm going to have the Shellcracker and Shepherd focusing on the nest. I want to take those out as quickly as we can. As for the Brucus, I'm not going to give them priority in any way. So at this point, I'm going to have the Ares being targeted by both the Mr. Brown and Marshmallow, and that finally leaves Mr. Pink and Digrig as the only ones that are primarily going to focus on the Operarius. Again, this is going to be a very expensive lance to field, but hopefully we're going to get quite a lot back from this one, so it won't be too bad. We're going to have to deal with sunspots, but that's the only thing we're going to have to deal with. The fact we're not dealing with any winds, honestly, such a relief. It is going to be almost like a holiday, despite going into a volcano. Alright then. Now, let's get everything ready. We're definitely going to need a good camera mode for this. Oh, good. Oh, what the heck are you? You're not normal. Alright. We have got nests going down through here. Actually, not a lot going on here. Now, this actually comes back to a comment that I had. Wow, what a perfect time to have posted that comment. Ayuvir reminded me that we can use artillery as a means to clear a path through rock. What better time to do that? We had 10 artillery shells, and we've been slowly building those up. Maybe I could just use the artillery shells like straight away. I'm not sure how much we're going to need to do that, but we're going to engage. Oh, God. Alright. Did you... are we going to... Ooh.
Danger, artillery
You are a
fire.
boss. Okay. I'm actually
Danger,
going to throw
fire.
3 shots down straight away. Just unload everything into it. Everything. Oh.
No.
Okay, not much of a boss, actually. Did anyone take any damage there? Did we kill it before it could attack us? Because I swear I saw what looked like a laser beam. Everyone seems okay. Was it heat-based? No, most people seem okay on the heat. Wow, okay. Fair enough then. And we've opened the way forward. Well, that might be quite an easy one then. Wow. Maybe I didn't need as many of those shots as I used, in fact. And honestly, with the particle emitter here, I'm probably just going to be able to punch a hole straight through here, frankly, and destroy everything in this area. Just go ahead, just destroy everything, march through. Take out those nests if you can, please. There we go, that'll do. Just pop everything. We're not here to gather resources from the Brucus this time. That is not my objective. We're just here to, honestly, just destroy everything. What is that sound? Why am I hearing that explosive sound there? Is anyone taking any big damage here? No, it doesn't look like it. That particle emitter is honestly just such a ridiculous weapon. It is just destroying everything. It is straight up just deleting parts of the map. My God. I reiterate, what terrible sins did we commit to command such power? Let's continue marching forward. Don't you worry, we can easily remove the enemies down here. It's interesting using the particle emitter to take on the nest, because it does have an effect of pulling things toward itself. I wonder if that actually triggers on the nest as well. And so as they're trying to run away, it's just bringing them back to me. Right, go ahead and... wow, I had no expectation to... have such an easy time dealing... What? Oh, we're bringing it back? Oh, okay. I had no expectation to take a point of interest so easily. That was the easiest point of interest that we've tackled. Or B, tackle a volcano region so easily. Oh. We've got a reactor, and what I am gonna assume based on the looks is the fusion reactor. I'm not familiar enough with the look of the cabins to be able to tell which type of cabin this is, but oh my God. We managed to get information from the black box. Okay. At 27 minutes, 45 seconds past 3 in the morning, latitude 36.349219, longitude minus 90.930048, height 423.67 kilometers, speed 7.662 kilometers per second, period 93 minutes. Detected a large space object and 134 small objects. Information about objects sent to the nearest repeater on Earth. The asteroid defense system was activated. More power was supplied applied for calculating the movement of targets and the power of laser guns. Arrival of 56 Allied ships was registered. Information about the current location and the vector of movement was transmitted. Collision registration. Attempt to return to orbit. End of recording. Oh, attempt to return to orbit. Oh, this was a satellite? This was a satellite. That makes sense. Those look like solar panels, I guess. Or it might have been a ship, or a station even, but how very interesting. Well, that does explain why we got such amazing loot out of this. All right, then. That was honestly fantastic. Well done on your level up, Phoenix. Synthetic Samurai also got a level up to 5. Anyone else get a brand new level? Encrypt is now level 7. Heading on to level 8 is your next stop. Well done, everyone. That actually went fantastically well. My goodness. Alright, well, that's the only mission that we can run today, so I'm going to pop everyone back in here and quickly get them assigned. Right, who is going to need some time in the hospital? Vanya lost one, still 65 vitality, stress relief of 62. Well, it's an easy yes for that one. Sound Sphere, likewise, 66 and 84. Let's get you in there. Right, CBS. Clone 3. We could, but let's have a look at reactions. How are people? Ooh, 55 on Encrypt. Your CBS is so good, though, that Clone 3 will get the most bang for buck out of this, and it'll bring them closer to being able to be fielded. I'm going to... I hate seeing it, but it is above 50, so I'm going to put Clone 3 in there. There we go, Clone 3. You can have some time in the training pod. Okay, well, that was absolutely bonkers, and I am extremely pleased. We're gonna have a... Oh man, we're gonna need more of these then. Okay, we're gonna have to set the... Oh, we haven't even had a look at the other... This is turning into a very, very focused engineering episode. I hope you don't mind, but we just unlocked a loads of things, and I am not gonna wait on this reactor. I need to know. First and foremost, we can easily set this one up, and we already know how we're going to do it, so I'm gonna just quickly slap these a little bit in here. Again, just a reminder, we put the resistance multipliers, we now put 3 of them in a resistance then, because this is almost certainly going to be used for a energy weapon. Then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That'll give us a solid 147 output. Ignite the reactor. There we go, and top that off over there. Now then, let's have a look at you. This is... Do we have anything in here about these, or is this going to be the point where I just full-on need to experiment? We have no further information about this. Now, those of you in the comments who are far more educated on the subject, what kind of reactor does this look like? To me, it looks like... would I be correct in calling this a tokamak reactor? I'm properly reaching now to the limits of my knowledge on nuclear power, but this looks somewhat similar to that. I don't know, but do advise me in the comments. Now we've got a couple of things over here. Overcharge of resistance multiplier. Increase the number of power circuits. I believe this allows you to add more redlining onto items. It might even be 1 for each that you add. So this would potentially allow you to add 9 red wires to a weapon. Whether that would be worth sacrificing resistance, though. We've got solenoids, induction power, more power there. Yeah, more power and more induction here. Okay, I'll pop a blue solenoid in there then. I've no idea. And then we've got magnets. Okay, give me a few moments. Oh, wow, look at without doing any... Well, I mean, you can't turn it on, but with the base energy output on this is 60, and the max temperature is 2,700. Oh, I'm going to have some fun with this. All right, give me a few moments. Okay, welcome back. Now, I have been playing around with these for quite some time, And what I can tell here is basically you're playing, the puzzle is to get distance to be as low as possible. And effectively, I think this is some function of how different these numbers are from the lowest to the highest. Or perhaps it is in what order they are. I haven't really managed to play around with it enough to nail that part down, but certainly this is as high as I've managed to get it. 540 energy output with a passive cooling, or rather a base cooling of 18.38. A resistance of 58. With the orcs here, unlike the fission reactor, where 3.3 was easily the best one because it gave the best cooling power and also the best resistance, you are making a choice on this one. The best cooling power is achieved by having 4 resistance slots and 2 multipliers. So if you want the cooling power to be higher, then you have to go with this configuration. Or if you want the resistance to be higher, then you can go with this configuration. And it probably needs a fair bit of testing to know exactly which one is best there. Alternatively, you could always do this as well if you really wanted to, or perhaps this instead. And I imagine that would still be okay. 18.6 versus 39 versus 18.22 versus 38. I'm going to say that 0.6. If it was 0.6, then the other configuration is definitely the better one. But for now, let's well, actually I'm kind of tempted, but I mean, this is still a lot of cooling. Let's be honest now. The resistance isn't super amazing, but we'll leave that as it is. That's still quite a pointed one. If I pop that in there, it's still a lot of cooling, to be fair, and 2 extra wires. I'm not sure how much that would really help us, but let's throw this together and we'll play around. But this is a fairly solid situation here. We've got 0 distance, but I'll just demonstrate. As we move that distance higher, the power starts to drop. We'll continue. It's now 2.83, and we're only getting 60 energy. Bearing in mind, this is a 100-weight reactor. It's now 3.74, and we're making negative energy. Not sure how that works, but you can push this all the way if you really, really want to. I obviously don't. But we'll pop this back in, get back to distance 0 there at 897. And this is going to be our reactor, I think. Let's turn this on. It actually sounds amazing. I kind of love it. That glow is fantastic as well. I honestly find this so cool. Let's push this up to the balance point. Just there, exactly there. Okay, so this is where the reactor sits passively. At 19.4, just tipped over a little bit there. We can push it a little bit further if you really want to, just to see that gradually pull back down. But the reactor is sitting in the red with this. So, you know, mileage may vary, but this is absolutely wonderful. And we're going to pop that one down there. Now, I'm not going to put it in you. I'm sorry to say. I know. You would love it, but no. Okay, I will say again, what terrible sins did we commit to command such power, to wield it? I have quadruple redlined all of the energy weapons here. I don't even know how much. Oh, this is going to cost so much energy. But we have got the ability to run at a volcano, so let's see how that works. Oh, good lord, the explosions, the fire, the everything. Let's see where our reactor calms down at 64, still going 66. I mean, we're firing pretty... Oh, I took a little bit of damage here. Actually, I'm going to need to adjust the minimum firing range for the BFG if we're redlining it 4 times. We're up at 75. But honestly, it seems to be hovering okay. Okay. After significant testing at this point, I can say with confidence that even with quadruple red lines on all of the weapons, that we are not going above the low 90s when reloading. And that happens infrequently. I wonder how much we could push it. Could we go with another red line? I mean, it's going to drop my resistance even further. But maybe we could. We're taking a lot of heat from reloading right now, but... for science. We are not at the point where we can comfortably quintuple redline all 3 energy weapons. We can't, even with just running 2 of them, we can't stabilize. So the reload would basically break us. Given that then, alright, we lost a little bit too much when we dropped the cooling down and the internal resistance as well. So we're just going to live with this one. But that still leaves the Nicola with a lot of spare room for other components, I would say. Let's pop you in there. Of particular note, I actually am redlining more of the motors now than I was before, so we've got a little bit extra room for weight, which should help us with speed, in addition to other things. But we'll have a single, just quadruple redlining everything. There we go. Now, do we need the drone on this? Probably not. But this will also give us a bit more of a shield strength as well, because we've got quite a lot of extra energy to use on there. If we does it actually give us shield information? It doesn't. That's a bit of a shame, I must say. I would like that. But the heat from drone is 1.15. The heat from reload is 3.45. Basic heat is 19.8. External resistance is 0.65, which is actually quite nice. And the max cooling is 22.46. All in all, this is actually a pretty powerful mech at this stage. Still can't open that up yet. Shove resistance is good. Evasion, I mean, you know, it's fairly low, all things said and done. And the speed isn't fantastic, but we've still got this mech can still function in volcano environments, which opens up so much of the map to us. But I am really starting to hurt for motors now, and honestly, if I could get 1 or 2, well, I could probably even do that right now. Since I haven't got anything else to do with this weight, I may as well just pop that right there. And that means I'm going to be able to pull one of the red lines off this, I should imagine. No, we do still need all the red lines. But this is still a bit of a saving on the heat there, because the basic heat from the reactor will have gone down by removing 2 of those wires. This is still a ridiculous weapon. Now, this is now the particle emitter itself is being quadruple redline, so I need to change its stats to address that. But this is why we can increase that so much, it seems. Look at that explosion. It's actually bonkers. I wouldn't want this explosion too much closer than, say, here. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm actually going to push this out even further. We are going to make sure that this weapon does not attack out to about there. Sure. We'll mark it around there. That will do for me. Operarius, honestly, we still engage Operarius at maximum range. That's okay. But this will pull things back. But oh my good lord, that is absolutely disgustingly powerful. I love it and I hate it, and that's the best way to feel about your weapons, really. A healthy fear of them is I think is good for you. Right. That's going to cost us 40 engineers. We're doing this at the end of the day, so I don't have to dip into our engineers at the beginning. That'll do for you. You can go ahead. Now, the Frostfire. What I would like for you, since we are changing things up. Frostfire, you're going to obviously stop having a rocket weapon on board, which I like. And instead, we are going to equip... Where are we? There we go. The railgun. There we go. That actually gives us a little bit of weight still. Right. Can we redline this as well? Of course we can. Oh, that was the wrong one. There we are. We can't quite redline it as much as the Nicola can redline its things, but that's fine. We should be able to just top off a little bit more of this. There we go. Nice. Getting almost up to that full armor coating there. Okay, so you are now a very long-range weapon system, all kinetic, all the time. Look at that. That is beautiful. Now, I do need to double-check that you're going to be able to handle the temperature, but I honestly can't imagine you won't be able to. Yeah, actually, yeah, we don't even bother engaging the little gun until we're actually a lot closer. Can we see a difference between these shots? Because this is the main cannon and also the railgun firing here. I can't actually see it, no. I can't see any particular difference between them. Except, you know, one has got almost twice the penetration and good lord, 6 times, 7 times the damage. That is genuinely quite terrifying. I love it. Now, with that, we haven't quite got enough energy to swap this out for an energy weapon. Maybe we're going to need to wait for a more powerful reactor for that. That being said, it does only pull 15 energy. We might be able to. I wouldn't mind doing that, as it would give us a little bit more protection here. Now, it does mean that we lose the slow, which I'm not super happy with. Maybe we could have a look at getting more of the mechs with slow. Now, of course, I would like to triple line it. Is it possible that we can make that a reality for us? We would need another battery, which isn't really something I want to do. So we're going to have to say a big old nope to that one. Also going to have to drop the coating back down, despite the fact that I was so happy about having it. Alright, well that is a shame. Ooh, actually, we only need to gain back 3. In fact, we can do it. I just need to do this. No, because that pulls it down as well. Damn it. Okay, so if we pop that in there, that goes down to 84. Shame. Big shame. But I guess I could just pull back one of the red lines on that. So we go for triple red line down here, and only double red line over there, and single undervolt here. Okay, that works for me. It's not the best, but it's certainly not the worst either. In terms of the speed, we're actually a decent speed on this mech. Alright, let's have a look at what the temp for each shot is. Not terrible. Alright, let's see how you handle operating in a volcano. It honestly looks like you're never going to go above, like sort of middle, sort of, I would say mid-50s maybe. Somewhere around there, maybe high 50s actually. But I think that should be fine. Honestly, I'm pretty content with this. Nevertheless, I'm going to do my due diligence, and I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to just shoot for a little bit. I will bring you back when I'm done with the test. Okay. I'm going to say that at this point, we're never going to overheat. Even with the reload, because it's taking me so long to get to the point of reloading, we're going to have enough time to get back to our balance point after a reload. Also, I wasn't seeing the railgun shot. It's because I keep forgetting that all of the test dummies are considered operarius, and for my big weapons I have a maximum engagement range where it's not going to bother with operarius and instead going to look for something more chonky in order to attack. And yeah, you can definitely see the difference between the railgun shot and the regular cannon shot. There is a big difference, in fact. But that's actually quite glorious. So we're going to stop the test there, and we're going to deploy. Alright, pretty happy with where we're at now. We've got a bunch of lasers and other gubbins that we can play around with. I would very, very much like to play around with them, but we're going to need a little bit... Well, actually, that being said, we've got 2 new reactors now that we can stick in things. Is it time for even more? I mean, we could. At the very least, I could hook up Mr. Brown with a much more chunky weapon system. That is definitely an option. Either that, Mr. Brown and Mr. Pink could just have energy weapons associated with them. That would be a terrible one, but the weight is really where the problem starts creeping in there, because we're already just trying to struggle a bit with weight. And the reactor itself is going to add some. Yeah, we are... I mean, we're not even... We haven't even got the best... The best... armor on this. That being said, if we pop on a nice big new chunky reactor and don't really drain the energy too aggressively... Now, granted, we're also going to have to deal with this, but I could switch over to the electric motors, which do have a higher upper threshold. Give me a moment. Okay, that took some time. My lord, this episode has really turned into an engineering episode. But I actually don't have any idea how much of this I'm going to have to cut out because there's been a lot of testing going on. So before we make the decision on whether there's time to do any more episodes, I'm going to have to double check all of that. But let's start with the changes to the Mr. Brown. Now, Mr. Brown now has a triple red-lined heat laser, or fire laser rather, along with its rocket pods. It's actually got a fairly good bit of extra energy, which is being converted into a shield. We haven't really had to change the armor profile too much. Now, I do actually have room to stick on a melee system if I really want to, and there's a part of me that feels like doing that, but because I know I'm going to be changing out this armor, and that's going to be adding a lot of extra weight once I can get the layered armor, I'm going to forego that because I'd rather just pull off the coating rather than pull this off. But this is going to obviously help us out, especially considering we're fielding a lot of rocket weapons. Now, for Mr. Brown, we've got all electric motors. I don't know if this is the best motor that we can possibly have, but it's quite happy to have it. We are okay with the temperature that we can field now, so Mr. Brown never needs to stop firing. Even on a volcano, I've been testing all of this at volcano temperatures. Mr. Brown will never need to take the finger off the trigger. It's just sometimes when they're holding down the trigger, they're going to have a little bit of extra pew-pew, or rather, indeed, look, okay, that was the best, like, missile launch, shush, it's fine. You know what I mean. It's going to have a bit more kickback than the laser usually will. However, Mr. Pink also now got a rocket system. Mr. Pink is joining Mr. Brown. The twins are getting closer together once more, but they're keeping the shrapnel mod that they had on their old rotary cannon. Mr. Pink really liked that. We're going with 3 electric motors on this one. We have not quite as much energy to play with, so their energy shield is going to be a bit lower, but this definitely looks like a nice weapon there. This one will be I'm hopeful that this is going to be a proper crowd clearer. Though, again, it's got firing restrictions, and although it does pull its enemies closer, I think that's still going to cause us some potential complications. But there we go. Let's get both of these out. There's 56 engineers to field the Mr. Pink and Mr. Brown. Probably going to take more. Oh, actually 56 as well. Okay, not too bad. Wow, that one point of interest has radically changed the power distribution of our mechs. Like, certain mechs are just wildly different configurations now. Frostfire has switched out having a rocket system for having pure kinetics at this point, as well as energy. Nicola has got energy as well as the particle emitter. Mr. Pink has now gone from kinetics to rocket with shrapnel, and Mr. Brown has gone from pure rocket to rocket and energy. That is a big upgrade for us. The only 2 mechs now that don't have 2 weapon systems is Mr. Pink, and honestly, I'm not sure that we're ever really going to put another weapon system on Mr. Pink, given the setup right now. Of maybe if we have a lot more weight to play with, we could stick something on, maybe even pop the rotary cannon back on, honestly, because we've kind of gone down in the amount of rotary cannons we have. But Dig Rig, Old Faithful Dig Rig, does need a bit of an upgrade. And I wouldn't mind the next time we get a reactor popping on a energy weapon. Just something that Dig Rig never needs to reload. And on that note, we've got 1 day left on that, but then we're going to have several more days in order to get all of the control rods. Well, actually, 1 more day to get all of the control rods. But either way, we're not quite there for the Dig Rig, sadly. Wouldn't mind getting another plate, though, at this point. Other things that we're definitely going to want to do is get more cabins, because I'm not happy with the mishmash of cabins. We've got quite a few people don't have better cabins than the first cabin that we ever had, and I definitely feel they at least need the 50-50 cabin, if not the 25-75, and obviously by that I mean control safety. I am leaning more towards safety. The safety of the pilots, that is the #1 priority for this AI city. Our pilots are keeping the rest of the citizens safe, and that is, in fact, the primary priority. Like, look, it's survival of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, but when the needs of the few are what the needs of the many are predicated upon, then the needs of the few become a priority 0 priority. We've got to keep our pilots alive, because if they die, then everyone else on the city is going to follow them in time. It'll just take a little bit longer. Right, with that though, I need to go and check the recording, because I have been recording now for almost 3 hours. I will be right back. And I'm back. But unfortunately, looking at the time, the episode is going to be running to about an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and a quarter, as is. So I really don't have time to run missions. I know this has been quite a engineer-heavy episode. These will creep in from time to time. We had a new mech, a new weapon, and a new reactor to play with. Now, we have done the lion's share of the maintenance of the edits to the mechs that we're going to need to do for the next little while. That being said, we will try and maximize running missions on land in the next episode before we take the dive into the ocean, because that's going to require a complete rejig of the mechs. Namely, we're going to have to reduce their, or rather, we're going to be able to reduce their temperature tolerance, because the water is going to be a lot cooler for us to move around in, and also add on some other orcs modules which will allow them to fight effectively in the water. We're also going to have to finish working on our water mech. But what can we expect in the next couple of episodes then? Well, firstly, tomorrow we're going to get a new reactor, new control rods, but we're going to have to build more controllers to make that work. And we're going to finish a pretty huge research that has been going on now for like 14 days. We're going to get the processor tech unlocked, and then not too long after that we're going to get some new motor tech, and then not too long after that a new mech itself. But what I would like to do, the plan of action I have right now is we're actually going to move in this direction. Tomorrow we're going to try and run some missions around here depending on what's available to us, and then we're going to start heading south. Once we are about here, we're going to start moving across the ocean. We will pick up these 2 locations along the way, ideally, and then we will start heading northwards once we reach either here or here. I'm not sure if the city can walk over the ruins of a city. I guess we'll find out. But that is the plan of action as is. So we'll have an episode where we will get at least a couple of days through where we can just run missions on land with the mechs set up as they are. We have had a huge power spike thanks to those 3 points of interest, so I should imagine we can clean sailing all the way down to the very southern tip of Africa before we need to do too much more to change things up. And then it is time for the water episode. So I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Engineering heavy though it may have been, we did clear, I mean, I want to say a boss zone, but honestly, that was over and done with so quickly. This is definitely one of those situations where we may have trained too hard for this battle, but that is going to be it from me. So, once again, thank you for your patience. I hope you're enjoying this series, and from myself and all of our mechs, extremely upgraded that they have been through this episode. Some of them getting to like Ship of Theseus levels, and of course, all of our pilots. Do take care, everyone.